Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the Fantasy Master Lothario, the mustachioed man of mystery, the spectacled sultan of stat, Gray Albright. How you doing over there, Gray?
That's good, man. I'm good, bro. I just got I don't know if people listening know, but our one of our football guys, Donkey Teeth, who people might know from Beat On's football podcast and also from our football side of things. I got a text message from Donkey Teeth saying he was in Nepal. He's in Nepal, bro.
It's
Okay.
where donkeys are from, right? I think that's where donkeys originate.
It's like he's doing the Mecca. He's doing a Mecca for donkeys.
For
He's like
donkeys, yeah.
the motherland. He's going back to the motherland for donkeys. He's like, yo, could go to a petting zoo, might go to Nepal. Oh, that petting zoo would have been easier, bro.
I mean, it's also possible this is some kind of like mating, migration. You can come
People
back and be
listen.
like, girlfriend's knocked up.
People, yeah, right, yeah. People listening right now are like, I don't know what these two guys are on, but what are they talking about? On the on my children who have never been born's life, Donkey Teeth is in Nepal right now. That is not a joke. He is actually in Nepal. He sent me a video and he was like, check out my room. And I was like, why is there a bucket in the bathroom? Oh. I guess I could figure that out.
Was it just a field? Was it just an open field? Is that what was that what he sent you?
Ah, yeah, but we have Bobby Lamarco covering for Donkey on the football side of things. So if if any football listeners are listening to this, you go ahead and check out our football stuff. Okay. Anyway,
Also, my former podcast co-host on the baseball side before Gray ran off three other guys, and then I
uh,
came in here.
yeah, exactly. Watch what you say, B Donna, because I will leave you a bad review on iTunes.
Well, that's only going to hurt you, really, because we
No,
know how much
no,
Mamie and
I will, I will say specifically you in the review.
I didn't like that beat on, but see, then you're just gonna think that we got like racist listeners. It's not gonna come off well, Gray. Just like there's all bad things come from that.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of bad things,
yeah, speaking of just awful things to hear about, Ohtani has a torn UCL. He's not going to pitch this season. It doesn't sound like, at least for now, he's going to do any kind of surgery for the time being, and at least for now, won't be doing it even in the off season. But what does this mean? I mean, obviously for this year, you can't use him as pitcher. You stick him at your utility. He's still going to hit. What does this mean for his draft value next year, though? As we look for, like, he was the dual player. Are we still expecting him to give that a shot? Is that over with? Do you think, or like what's the future hold for Ohtani Gray? Look into your crystal ball and promise me everything's going to be fine.
okay, so here's the story. So I went to a yard sale and I got a crystal ball, right? And it says 1324. It's got lottery numbers. So this could come in handy. How do you get this crystal ball to work for Ohtani? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with Ohtani. I think that, I mean, it's really hard to say because, like, does he have Tommy John surgery? Because if he does, like, I mean, I would assume it's like honestly, he's in a tough position, man. Because like any other time in his like, if this would have happened last year, I would say, oh, just go and have Tommy John surgery. But now with his free agency, like, if you're him, do you go and like before potentially your biggest free agency of your career, do you go and have Tommy John surgery like immediately in October and hope the free agency plays out well in November, December, like it's just, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in his position. Well, actually, I would.
Yeah,
I would
it's
say,
not a bad position.
I would okay. So I retract that. I would become Otani if God were to strike that down on me. I would accept that responsibility. But no, honestly though, like if you think about like where he, like where his free agency is and like where he is with his injury now, like I mean, I mean, if I were him, I would probably hold off on Tommy John surgery until the free agency played out. I don't know. I mean, it sucks. You know, it really does. Like, it totally is. It's a lousy position for him to be in because, you know, like he is the best baseball player potentially ever. So it sucks that he's got to choose here like when to have surgery. You know, him and his agent and you know his manager. I'm sure he's got a ton of people you know conferring with him, but it sucks. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is if I were him. I would probably wait, I guess, but you also got to figure the sooner you have the surgery, the better off you're going to be on the other side. So you want to have like if he has surgery in like first thing in October, he should be ready for not spring training, maybe the end of spring training, like very beginning of the season to be a hitter. And then, you know, he has probably no chance of really pitching next year, except for maybe we see like maybe he's like, you know, throws some bullpens in like September of next year, and maybe he gets in a game or two, but probably no real pitching next year. Either way, like no matter when he has the surgery, if he has the surgery beginning of October, because if we remember, Bryce Harper had Tommy John surgery, but he waited until after the World Series, obviously. So it was like it took an extra month for him into the season, and he didn't come back until May. He still doesn't look 100. He still didn't look 100% all year, to be honest. But we'll just assume, you know, Otani is going to be okay when he comes back. There's a risk, though. I mean, it's obviously if he has Tommy John surgery in you know first thing in October, and that puts him on a timetable to come back for like opening day, he's still at risk of not being 100% in the beginning of the year, you know, for a little while at least. And I think, you know, like I said already, I think pitching's off the table completely for next year. Like I think if he has Tommy John surgery in October, you're looking at 2025 for him to be a pitcher and a hitter again. For our game, I don't know. I mean, it was nice if you had him in a daily league where you could move him back and forth. Obviously, you did pretty well having that as a pitcher, you know, even if it was every sixth day. And for like the last month or so, he hasn't been like superb as a pitcher, but he's still been solid. And like if you had that, obviously you really benefited nicely from it. But I think even in daily leagues next year, if he's just a hitter, so assuming he has Tommy John surgery first thing in October, and that puts him on a timetable to begin the season healthy on opening day to be a hitter for all of next year, I still think he's got to be top 3 at worst for as a hitter because like I mean who else can hit 45 bombs and steal 20 bags like nothing. Like, you know, like that's what you're looking at. Like that's like, you know, I mean, I don't see how he falls at worst because there's a little bit of risk with the surgery and him being a hitter. At worst, he falls to maybe 5-6, but still, I mean, you really like. I think you're getting a bargain. I mean, I didn't really, you know, I've been out on Bryce Harper since he's returned because he hasn't looked right. So I should probably be more conservative with Otani, but I just feel like Otani's made of different cloth and I'm willing to risk it, you know? I don't know. I think that feels like the most possible scenario. I I think the other scenario, a realistic scenario is he just doesn't have the Tommy John surgery at all. And I don't know. And he's just like, and him and his new team, him and the Yankees or the Mets or the or whoever assigns him, or maybe the Red Sox dig into their pockets. I don't know. Whoever signs Ohtani, maybe they decide he shouldn't have the Tommy John surgery and he should just be a hitter for them for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I mean, I guess that could be a scenario. I doubt it. I feel like Tommy John is definitely going to be like in his near future, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's if I'm just thinking it through from his perspective, to your original point, he may wait to have the surgery kind of a la Harper because of free agency. And if he has a surgery that shuts doors for at least next season for certain things, like him being a starter for most of the season, or if at all that season. Now, if he waits to have it, like you said, he can also talk to whoever his future team is, decide if they want him to be a pitcher, if they want him to run out there and just see how many innings he can get, if they want to move him to a closer role. Or maybe he was an outfielder, he could go to the outfield, he could become a first baseman. There's a number of things they could do, I think, without having surgery. And he's already had one Tommy John. The success rate on the second Tommy John is not phenomenal. There's very few guys who come back after two and pitch at the same level. So given that the other option is kind of Tommy John and maybe the pitching is done forever, I feel like he's probably going to wait it out, see if he can pitch again, see if he can rehab it. Worst case, he'll just DH for a season and have the Tommy John at some point, in the offseason next year if he doesn't do it this year. But I feel like it's really his last option on if I'm him in regards to having it like immediately.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I hope he has Tommy John surgery just selfishly so we can see him be fully healthy again at some point in down the road. I do agree that, a second Tommy John surgery isn't obviously a great thing. So it's, there's some risk involved there. I think you brought up an interesting scenario where like maybe he's used as a closer versus being a starter ever again, and he's a lights out closer as well as being one of the best hitters in baseball. Like that's really interesting. Like if he can only throw 1 inning a game and he can do that like 2 or 3 times a week, it hurts. I mean, that would hurt for fantasy because you'll have no idea when he's going to close. So that would make him basically a hitter only. It'd be fun from a real baseball standpoint, though. I mean, that would be fun to see, like a guy who's like, as good as Ohtani as a hitter, and then coming in like as a closer here and there. Like that would be really cool to see. It wouldn't be good for fantasy though. For fantasy, he'd just basically be a hitter, unless you're like insanely desperate for saves and you're just like out of control, like thinking that he might get a save or two. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what's gonna happen. I honestly have no idea. I mean, like I said originally, he could not have the surgery, and like you said, like he could maybe just not do it and just be a hitter for the foreseeable future, and then try and throw down the road after he's gotten some, was it PFP injections or something? Like I don't know, whatever the case is, but it's not good, man. It's not to see him as a pitcher like what we had seen. We may not see that again, and if we do, it's not going to be for a while. It won't be until at least 2025.
Really hoping Japan has some magic medical cure they're saving for him as like as a national hero, and that they just inject him with whatever Thor medicine that they can come up with, make him Captain Japan.
Get out the in the glass case. There's the Hello Kitty with a very special like arm medicine. Get
Pop the
it
head
out.
off, pull it out.
We have to break the case in case of emergency. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. It sucks though, it does because it's gonna be a while. It'll be at least until opening day 2025 before we see him, starting a game again and throwing like more than 5 innings. And that might be being very optimistic.
Yeah, I won't say that he won't start a game next year because again, I think there's potential he just tries to pitch through it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's not what we wanted to hear. He's an amazing hitter, but just for baseball, just for the enjoyment of the game, it's so much better if he can go and pitch and hit at the same time.
I wonder what it does for his bottom line and his free agency. It might cost him a couple $100 million.
Yeah, I think the early estimate is anywhere from 100 to 300 million on overall value loss from him not potentially pitching.
I know that stinks too because this doesn't have anything to do with fantasy, but like if you think about it, like he is such a huge draw for like an entire population of people who don't who are going to be watching. Like you're getting all the Japanese fans, everyone in Japan will be suddenly buying, like if he does go to the Mets, suddenly all the people in Japan are going to be buying Mets memorabilia. They're going to be buying jerseys. They're going to like suddenly be invested in the New York Mets where they weren't before. So he brings so much more than, it sucks that he's not going to be a pitcher, but he brings so much more than just 5 innings or 5 to 7 innings every 6th day. Like he brings a lot to a potential team. I sound like his agent now. Scott Burns? What am I doing? Okay, anyway, let's move
Do you have another job? I mean, it would just fit another bias if you were a sports agent. You're trying to be a sports agent.
Yeah. I have my one client is Daniel Vogelback, and man, just like he's eating me at a house and home here, man.
I told him he can come over every week for dinner, and Jesus,
it's like killing me. I mean, come on.
Offensive lineman.
I know it's like I'm Sandra Bullock and the other side now. Suddenly. Okay. Anyway.
All right, so we're moving on to Everson Pereira, who was called up by the Yankees, highly touted prospect for them. Across AAA and AA in 81 games combined, he had 18 home runs, 11 stolen bases. He was hitting 300, 373, 548. He was a high 20% K rate, 28, 29% at each stop. He was a 10.3 and an 8.2 walk rate at AA and AAA, respectively. Everson Pereira, are you interested in him in every league? And is it only deep leagues? Where are you looking to add him, Greg?
Well, I would be interested in all leagues if he were to hit. Unfortunately, he hasn't really been hitting so much so far. So that sort of kills the buzz a little bit on him. I was kind of surprised that there's so little being made of his call up. It feels like he's been really like kind of just non-existent for like pickups. Like no one's asking about him. Like no one really cares, which is, I mean, I guess I get it because he's got a propensity to strike out. So maybe people are thinking like he's not going to be able to hit 200, let alone 250 or above, which is, I mean, if that's what people are thinking, they might be right. He may not be able to hit 200. That's a fair point. Hypothetical person who I just made up in my head. So I don't know. I mean, I was kind of interested because of his speed and power combo. I think he's going to play. There'd be they'd be so ridiculously silly to not play him because, like, the Yankees are going nowhere. So it's like you may as well see what you have with some of these young bats. So and if the at bats are there, if the at bats are there, then it's like, okay, that's like half the battle for a lot of these guys. So if he's going to be in the lineup every day, then he's worth a flyer in most deeper leagues at least. And then if he starts hitting, I could see opening that up to like shallower mixed leagues because, like I said, I mean, he does have he's got good prospect pedigree. He's got great power, great speed. His biggest flaw, unfortunately, is a really big one in that he can't make contact. So that's unfortunately that's sort of like that's the wet blanket here, and that's a rather large wet blanket because if he's not able to make contact, then it doesn't matter if he has speed and it doesn't matter if he has power. So, right now he's striking out a ton. He doesn't look very good at the plate, but that could change. We'll see. It's still early. He has he's got like a nothing. His BABIP's like silly low, but it's a small sample size, so it doesn't really matter either way on that. But yeah, I mean, if he starts, sometimes guys come up and pitchers just don't know anything about them, so they throw him fastballs, and maybe he gets into a couple. So I think it's too early to say that he's like going to be useless in all leagues, but right now he's probably more of a deeper league guy for right now, at least until or if he does make contact with some pitches. So, we'll see.
Yeah. In regards to playing time, he has started every game that he's been in or since he's been called up. So that's a positive. He sits seventh in most of them. Although he did have one game at cleanup. I assume that's just kind of a random day to see if they can jumpstart him. Back to seventh today, though, so we'll see what happens with Pereira. But to your point, keep an eye on him because if he does kind of get off to a good start here, if he starts finding the ball a little bit, there is a power speed here. He could be useful down the stretch here. Are you more interested in his fellow call-up Oswald Peraza, who we have seen a number of times? In 63 games in AAA, he had 14 home runs, 16 stolen bases, was hitting 268, 357, and 479, had an 18% K rate and just under 10% walk rate. Are you more or less interested in Oswald Peraza?
I'm actually a little bit less interested in Peraza just because I think the tools are just a little less loud, but in a small sample size, because right now, we're looking at the most a guy is going to be he's going to be playing for a month. So anyone can be hot for a month. So if Peraza is the one who's hot, definitely go for Peraza. I don't have, but long term, I feel like Everson Pereira has he's a little bit more interesting to me long term. Short term, it may not matter, but long term, from what I've seen at least so far, I like Everson Pereira better, a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit. I like Peraza though. I mean, if Peraza's playing, I'm all for picking him up, but he's been playing, just not really hitting. So it's like, it's not great either.
Yeah, I would, at least the way that I think of them is like Peraza probably has a better chance to be, to stick in real baseball for a very long time. I feel like Everson is either going to figure it out and he's going to be a really good player, or he's going to be out of baseball in 3 to 5 years, never to be heard from again. Like he's going to figure out the swing and miss, or he's going to be out. Whereas Peraza may not hit the ball as hard, but I think eventually his contact ability and just the ability to not strike out, take walks, is just going to keep it, and be a multi-position infielder is going to keep him playing regularly.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a terrible point. Everson Pereira may end up being like Keaston Herrera.
Yeah, just swing and miss too much, and you got to retool them and kind of go about it a different way.
Right. Yeah, and then once the guy gets starts, having his swing adjusted, then they're no longer comfortable and they get even worse than they were before.
Yeah.
And then it's just a downhill slide, and they just never are able to click in the major league. So yeah, I mean that could happen for sure. I think Peraza, if I'm like, long term wise, I would say Peraza just has a little bit lower ceiling, but Pereira definitely could just totally, bomb out and not be worth anything at all. So yeah, I think Peraza's got a lower ceiling, but probably a little bit higher floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. And I think that's generally the consensus across the prospecting landscape. I know Pereira is ranked higher than Peraza by itch. So I mean that's just kind of the hierarchy of it, and just the prospect. You take a little bit more risk to go with the louder tools, and it works out. Sometimes it's O'Neill Cruz, sometimes it's Keston Herrera.
Yep.
Hira, whatever. It doesn't matter. Moving on. Michael Busch was called up by the Dodgers in AAA this year in 88 games. He had 24 home runs, 3 stolen bases. He hit 323, 432, 615. He had a 90% walk rate and a 14%, a 90% K rate and a 14% walk rate. He's been hitting 7 or 8 versus righties, so kind of a platoon, but good side of the platoon bat right now. Where does he fit in the Peraza ranking here? Is he going to the top of the list, or is he stuck in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I like Michael Busch. Like I grabbed him in Tout Wars, my Tout Wars NL only league, 12-team NL only. I put in the highest bid for him, which was like I want to say like $77. It's obviously $1,000 fab, and it's late in the year, so a lot of people didn't have a ton of money, so it doesn't mean everything. But I did bid on him pretty heavily, so I like him. So just with that caveat, I don't know, but because that's a deep league, I like him. But I don't know if like in a mixed league, I don't know if he's really going to be loud enough for the next month. It's like if he gets hot, then sure. But his skills, like he doesn't have really speed, even though he's stolen a base already in the majors. But he doesn't really have any speed. He's got some power, but not like I don't think he's going to hit like 12 homers in September kind of power. So you're looking at a guy who could potentially hit 5 homers and 240 with 0 speed. Nah, it's not great. It's not, I mean, I don't know. It's not it's not super exciting for a mixed league where the other guys Pereira, especially, any guys really who have speed and power are interesting. But if Pereira can actually make contact, he's super interesting because he has speed and power. Well, Michael Busch, I mean, you're looking at a guy like best case scenario, like what are you getting here? Like Lourdes Gurriel Jr.? I mean, not even. Like he's hitting lower in the lineup, so he's a platoon guy. So yeah, I mean, Lourdes Gurriel isn't even really like a fair assessment. Like who are you getting here? Is it Davis Schneider or Michael Busch? I don't know. I'd probably go Davis Schneider for right now because at least he's hitting. But yeah, it's hard to say. If Michael Busch starts hitting, then all bets are off. Forget everything I've said, and Michael Busch is interesting. But just in general, just looking at them, he's like, I mean, he's good in the long term. I think Michael Busch could be really interesting long term because he has a good hit tool and he has power. So he could eventually be the better Max Muncy, he could be Maxium Muncy. He could be he could be really excellent, like Max Muncy with a good average. We could see that eventually from Michael Busch. It's taken a long time to, for him to sort of show himself though, because he is like 25. He's going to be 26 in November. That's partially because of the Dodgers don't really play rookies. Like, some teams would have brought up Michael Busch 2 years ago. It's just, the Dodgers just are sitting on people because they have like, major league ready talent. So I don't know. I like Michael Busch though. Like I said originally, I did grab him in one NL only league, but for a mixed league, I'm not really interested in Michael Busch yet. Really, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty much in line with what you're saying. I think just looking at the numbers, it seems like he has kind of this adjustment period where he needs to figure out his, when he makes that jump to the next level and kind of get everything in order. That being said, he's always hit for power across the level, so I expect the power to be there. I just would say the K rate's probably going to come in high, the average on the low end. Next year, when we're kind of looking forward, and Michael Busch seems like he has a spot in the everyday batting lineup, then I'm probably more interested because he'll have had time to see what Major League pitching looks like, make his adjustments in the offseason, come back fresh, ready to, have a spot in Major League camp, hopefully. And, when you're the Dodgers, I mean, when you can go trade for Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor and Ahmed Rosario and David Peralta and sign Jason Hayward Gray, I mean, you have to bring those guys in. They're way too important to let go. You're on mute, I think.
I was saying, like, I mean, I feel like this is a thing that a lot of teams, they fall into this like trap of like, when they're doing well, they're doing so well that it's like they just forget about everything else, and then eventually the Grim Reaper, the Father Time, to put it a little bit softer, Father Time comes along and is like, your team's no longer good and you've sold your future. So good luck now, Yeah, it's like eventually that happens, and yeah, that doesn't look good either. Like, hopefully the Dodgers, well, I mean, they either keep buying players or they end up like the Padres. It's like they've bought so many players and they've also sold their future. It's like, well, the players we bought weren't good, and we've gotten rid of all of our prospects. We're not in a great place here. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers for a long time have kind of kept their prospect system somewhat intact. But you're right. I mean, trading from it year after year, having back end of the first round picks, eventually that's going to catch up to everybody. And it's not quite the as fascinating of a Dodgers prospect listing as it used to be. I mean, Michael Busch is I would say consensus top 5, maybe even top 3 prospect for them, and he's a 25 and like in 8 months old prospect. Miguel Rojas, or not, sorry, not Rojas. Regardless, it's just not the same prospect grouping that they used to have, and then of course they had a lot of injuries on the pitching side this year as well that they kind of buried them alongside that. Let's move over to a different California team. Let's move over to San Francisco, where they have recalled Heliot Ramos, one-time very highly touted prospect, and he's fallen quite a bit, I think, but still has some pedigree. In 46 games in AAA, he had 9 home runs, 8 stolen bases. He's hitting 307, 369, 566, and he's been hitting 7th for the Giants since getting called up, Gray.
Yeah, I mean, he's been hitting 7th. I think he's also like in a bit of a platoon though. They have a bunch of guys. Actually, the Giants' entire lineup is kind of in a platoon with each other. I mean, there's so many platoon guys there. I mean, Ramos. I mean, he looks like he's basically NL only at best right now, at least. I mean, unless he gets hot, obviously, just like any other player. But I mean, he's got speed and power, like you mentioned, but he's really just sort of like, he's been unable to make contact in any consistent way in the majors. So far, at least. I mean, it's only 19 games. But if he's hitting, barely 200, that's useless, essentially. Hitting seventh, potentially in a platoon, hitting, 200-ish. I mean, it's not good. I don't know. I like him for NL only for now. Maybe in mixed leagues if he starts hitting and we could reevaluate. But right now he doesn't look like he really has. He doesn't really seem like he's that interesting for mixed leagues. Because like in most mixed leagues, you're looking at guys like at least like in the comments. People are asking like Kerry Carpenter or Eddie Rosario or something. Like in most leagues, at least most leagues of the listeners, Ramos isn't going to be really interesting. I mean, he could potentially get interesting for some of these leagues, but right now, he's just way too deep of a target. I think. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, if you could get above the seventh in the batting order, that would do something for me. But hitting seventh in a bad lineup in a bad home park, it just kind of adds up to not an overall great package. I've actually been a Heliot Ramos fan, and I think he's still going to be a productive major leaguer at some point. I just am not sold that for our game right now. It's the time. Deep leagues, certainly take a look, see if if he's kind of clicked and figured it out. I will say, the 9-8 doesn't sound great, but it's only 46 games down in AAA. So, he missed some to injury as well. So take the 9-8 for, with a grain of salt and just the number of games that it was. It's a little bit of power and a little bit of speed for not great offense in the bottom of the lineup. Yeah, that doesn't scream shallow leagues to me.
Right, exactly.
Gavin Stone was recalled by the Dodgers. They're saying at least initial role is for long relief, Gray.
Oh man, he's Gavin. Like he is giving me an ulcer this year. Gavin Stone. I was like Gavin Stone, Alek Manoah, Lance Lynn, Grayson Rodriguez. Man, not just misses, but like tremendous misses. just like total kicks in the crotch. Anyway, sorry, you were saying about Gavin Stone?
Yes, I was just gonna say, it actually, I think he was optioned as we're talking. So I would say if you got a shot in the rotation, would you be interested? But let's play devil's advocate. They get they want to start a sixth man, or they have a double header, or somebody gets injured and he's going to get another start. Would you pick him up in anything other than NL only?
No. No, God, no. I have him in NL. I have him in an NL only league, and he gives me nightmares. I get the cold sweats, man. I get like the shakes when I look at Gavin Stone's name. So no, I wouldn't recommend him. Absolutely not. I would absolutely not recommend him. That's like someone said in the comments today. I think they asked about Yu Darvish before it was announced that he was going on the IL, and I was like, "You're gonna start Yu Darvish for what? Like what? Why?" That's like, I said, "Why?" Like I don't know, man. Gavin Stone, no way, no way. No, there's just like at this point you can just find better like guys off of waivers than in most leagues, unless it's an NL only league. I'm talking about Gavin Stone again. But Yu Darvish, I think, is done for the year. But anyway, beyond Yu Darvish, Gavin Stone, I think, is just like NL only if you're super desperate. Otherwise, you should be able to find someone better off of waivers in almost all leagues. I think you probably, even in NL only leagues, you could find someone better off of waivers for, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe not. That part is debatable, but most of what I said was true.
yes, that's true. Because I've been looking for innings in NL only, and they just aren't there at any kind of quality. But yeah, I mean, he's he's not really going to be anything for this year. Long term, still think he's going to be fine, but not for this season.
Actually, before he was optioned, oh, sorry, I just had some seltzer and I got the burps. Before he was optioned, though, I was debating him or Abner Aribe for my lineup in NL only. So that shows you the sort of debating you had, the roster baiting. That shows you what you're looking at in the NL only league. So I was kind of thinking maybe Stone, but I don't know. Urabe's been pretty good too. And he only pitches like the sixth inning once every third day. So that shows you what I think of Gavin Stone. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, we can just move on to the next call up, which is Hunter Goodman. He was called up by the Rockies across Double A and Triple A this year in 106 games. He had 34 home runs. He had 259, 338, 581. Where's Hunter Goodman on this list of players that we've been talking about?
I think he's probably number one right now. That could change, obviously, but I think Coors alone, Coors, and I mean, Bud Black is like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 million times. I mean, what? I didn't see it coming. I'm sorry. I should have after 3 million times. I should have seen it, but I'm still getting fooled. That's what I'm saying. All right. I will continue to get fooled with Rockies prospects because Coors is just so good. I have a weakness. I have a weakness for Rockies prospects. That is for sure. But Hunter Goodman looks great, man. He looks like Hunter Great, man. He's got big power. He can make good contact. I wouldn't be shocked to see him be 12-team mixed league worthwhile when he's at home, at least. If he's hitting and he's at home, I say 12-team mixed leagues. If he's not at home, probably 15-team mixed leagues. I was actually surprised. He didn't go anywhere in my NL only league. In my Tout Wars league, he didn't even get picked up off of waivers because he wasn't anyone's number one selection. I had Michael Busch ahead of him. But that was because of my needs. I needed a guy. I needed Michael Busch's eligibility. So that really didn't have anything to do with Hunter Goodman. I probably could have worked around it, but I had like Alfonso Rivius and anyway, it's not important what I had going on. But I like Hunter Goodman. I think there could be a case to make that he is like potentially like a 12-team mixed league guy. He's got solid power. He should make good contact. Coors Field's not going to hurt him. I'm interested in all leagues, really, as of like, right now, Monday afternoon. And especially, I think the Rockies are home all week. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested in Hunter Goodman. I'll be interested. I could potentially pick him up even in an RCL league, depending on how he looks like in the first game or two. By the time people listen to this, I may have picked him up. We'll see. I don't know. But for right now, he's probably still on waivers. That's a 12-team mixed league, to clarify. But yeah, I would grab him in most deeper mixed leagues, and obviously NL only. He should be rostered, but he's not in mine.
Yeah. So there's Hunter Goodman. And I'm pretty much with you in regards to he's useful because you can play him at Colorado. Outside of that, I don't know that he jumps anywhere above. I think I'd still take Michael Busch with him, Pereira with him, or Pereira with him, and then it's probably him. Moving on, Jacob Young was called up by the Nationals. He's actually gone through 3 levels this year across those 3 stops. He has 6 home runs, 39 stolen bases. He's hitting 305, 376, and 418. K rates of 12.5 and 16% at Double A and Triple A. There's only 4 games, that's at 12.5 and 16% at Single A and Double A. He's only had 4 games at Triple A, so I didn't really feel like reading you any percentages from that stop. He's also walking at a good clip, 16% and 12% at Single A and Double A. Are you interested in Jacob Young?
For speed, if he plays, I could see potentially having a little Sagnoff action with him. But yeah, I mean, in general, I'm not really interested. But if you really need steals, I could see picking him up just for steals. But I think that's pretty much it for him.
Yeah, I think the speed part is maybe the most interesting here, just because if you're chasing speed, he's really the top guy among the people we've talked about that can potentially give you that, but he's also going to be hitting at the bottom of the order likely. So there's limited value that he can give you if you're not specifically chasing stolen bases. Wilyer Abreu was called up by Boston and then promptly has hit the paternity list. At AAA this year, 86 games. He had 22 home runs, 8 stolen bases, sitting 274, 391, 538 with a 20% K rate and a 16% walk rate. He's been hitting 7th versus righty so far after his call up. Are you interested in Wilyer Abreu? Does he fit in amongst the mixed league group, or is he strictly only league?
No, I think he's got potential for mixed leagues. I think for sure 15-team mixed league. I would look at him probably in a 12-team mixed league, in a daily league, if he were playing. I don't mean just with the paternity list. I mean because he's probably going to platoon a little bit, because most lefties do platoon, especially lefties who are just called up. So if he's facing righties, I would play him probably in 12-team mixed leagues, and if it's a daily league, I would just move him in and out of my lineup, potentially in a 12-team mixed league, because I think he's got good power. I was saying, I think I mentioned, I compared him on the site to Max Muncy. I've got a Max Muncy comp thing going today. This is the second guy now. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this for Abreu. His numbers don't really look like Max Muncy. I mean, he's got power like Muncy, but he's got way more speed, and he probably can hit for a better average than Muncy. The reason why I mentioned Muncy with him was, like, he actually physically looks like Max Muncy. Like, he's like a stocky, like, not that tall lefty. He looked a lot like Muncy when I was watching him at bat. So, if besides all that, though, I mean, he looks pretty solid. I would be, and also because the Red Sox called him up, with the paternity list thing, they called up Rafaela. But I think Rafaela is just going to be up for, a couple days while Abreu is on the paternity list, and then Abreu will come back. Like, it'd be kind of a raw deal to bring the guy up, have him leave for the paternity list, and then demote him afterwards. That would be mean. I guess major league teams aren't above being mean, but yeah, I don't know. I like Abreu though. I think he's got he's really solid power. Like the at bats I saw of him, I was like, I mean, he looks like he could hit 25 plus homers in that park, going down the right field line. And he's got some speed too. Like, he's not without speed, and he makes decent contact. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in Abreu, but again, you need to make sure he's in the lineup. And when he's facing, and when the Red Sox are facing lefties, he's gonna be benched. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wouldn't mind seeing Rafaela get an extended look here, if instead of Abreu, if we're just picking and choosing which one I think might be a little bit more exciting. I think Rafaela is that one. Considered one of their best prospects. He had 20 home runs, 36 stolen bases across a couple levels this year. He's hitting 300. I mean, there's equal. I mean, I'm excited about both, but I think I'd rather actually as bad as it sounds, Abreu's going to come off paternity list and get sent down, I would actually rather see that happen than than Rafaela gets sent back down.
Wow. So you're saying you're for population control. Wow. I beat on this ball.
I am great. Let's move on before we get dragged down that stupid lane. Let's do a little everybody's favorite game with some second half pitchers who have either got it going or turned it around. And scientific fact, Sex Panther, or I Don't Believe You, the greatest Anchorman theme game that has ever been created. If you haven't caught the other times we've done this, scientific fact.
Go randomly download past episodes, and eventually you'll find it. It's just about every 7th episode or so.
When I run out of stuff to put in the notes, you're gonna get scientific fact, Sex Panther, or I Don't Believe You.
Yeah, just quickly listen to the last 40 episodes, and eventually you'll hear it again.
All right, Greg. Scientific fact is, of course, you believe it. Sex Panther is 60% of the time. It's every time. I don't believe you. Clearly, I don't believe you.
Even after doing this a few times, I still don't understand it. so we're okay.
We know it's very loose. We're very loose with our rules here on scientific fact. Sex Panther, I don't believe you. Cole Reagans is our first one. Sitch joining the rotation. 6 starts, 34 2/3 innings, 3.66 ERA. He's got a 32% strikeout rate in that time and a 7.4% walk rate. Cole Reagans is absolutely killing it, Gray. Where are you on the scientific fact Sex Panther I don't believe you scale?
Cole Reagans is gonna make me do some bad things next year at my drafts. I already know in my head that I'm gonna draft Cole Reagans way too high, and then get a month into the season and be like, why do I have a Royal starter? Why did I do that to myself? I already know it's going to happen. I'm preparing, and I already know it. I know how the feeling is because I did it this year with Brady Singer. So I know exactly once I get to like the 3rd week of April, and I'm like, wait, why do I have a Kansas City Royals guy? This is awful. This is terrible. Why did I do this? I think Cole Reagans is absolutely, whatever the good one is in this thing. Scientific fact. I think he's scientific fact. I'm beside myself, like looking at like his fastball velocity has gone up 4 miles per hour. I mean, what? He's learned how to pitch this year more so than at any point in his career. I mean, he's had moments in the minor leagues where he hasn't looked like terrible, but he looks like he could potentially be an ace. If you throw in the fact that his fastball looks incredible now, he's got a slider that's working, and earlier in his career, he used to have great command. Like if he can find the 2.5 walk per 9 and you put that up against his newfound like almost an 11 K per 9, he's going to be, I don't know, Cole Reagans or Garrett Cole. You tell me. I don't know, man. I'm going to do some bad things next year with Cole Reagans, and I'm going to regret it.
Number 16 on the pitcher player rater over the last 30 days. I mean, he's been great, and that's on the Royals, Gray. On the Royals, he has been the number 16 pitcher. That's pretty darn good there. Moving over to Kyle Bradish, who I feel like I've been talking about all season. Since July, he's had a 2.19 ERA, a 101 WHIP, 26% K rate, 6.6% walk rate. And just in case you thought that was a fluke, you can take it all the way back to May, and he has a 2.65 ERA, a 102 WHIP with a 25% K rate and a 6.2% walk rate. The sinker change was kind of not in the right place to start the year, and it led to some bad outings. ever since then, Gray, Kyle Bradish has been great.
Yeah, no, completely. His I want to say I don't have it in front of me, but I want to guess his curveball is a top 3 in the league, probably at least. I mean, might be even better than that. I see him and I'm like, again, scientific fact. I'll get that out of the way up front. He looks to me, he looks like one of those guys where I'm going to be like, Kyle Bradish is a sleeper in 2024, and essentially just say he already did it. He's not like he shouldn't be like I feel like he's gonna get drafted too low, but he's already done it. Like he's already broken out. Like there's nothing more he needs to do. He's done it already. Like this year shows you what Kyle Bradish can do. And it's fantastic. It's great. I'm all in on Kyle Bradish. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so just going by the Fangraphs runs above average per pitch, his curveball's second, Gray. Is the second best curveball in that
Yeah.
stat. So it's been phenomenal. And then combine that with the sinker change actually working together with that, it's just been such a great combination. I am going to own so much of these guys we've talked about next year. Brandon Williamson, another one since July, 54 innings, 3 ERA, 109 whip, 25% K rate, 7.5% walk rate, fastball velocities over 93 since July. Pretty much removed the curveball from the mix. I mean, Brandon Williamson is another one who has figured it out and it just looked great recently, Gray.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's got I mean, I don't love the park, and his command hasn't really been like it's been sharper this year, so maybe he's growing into it. And he's younger than the other guys we mentioned. So I want to say he could actually get better than what I'm looking at. But I don't think I'll say Sex Panther maybe to like I don't believe you, Sex Panther kind of ish, like, so and not a little bit on the fence as to how much I don't believe, but I don't fully believe in Brandon Williamson.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say of the first three that we've talked about, he is third on the list in regards to the level in which I believe the production is, it's going to be maintained. To your point, just a terrible park to be pitching in, unfortunately. Gonna have an offense behind him, so maybe he can carry some extra wins and a not overly difficult division. But for now, I think I'm with you in regards to Sex Panther. I'm not buying him as a 3 ERA type. I'm like, if you said he's 3.6, 3.7 rest of season, I think that's probably around where I would put him from a projection standpoint, because I don't think he's a bad pitcher, and I think the pitch mix change has mattered. I just don't know that it matters to this level so far.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Graham Ashcraft is our last one. Since his start on June 30th, he's had 71 and 2/3 innings, 2.39 ERA, 109 whip, just under a 19% K rate, and a 7.5% walk rate. Using the sinker a little bit more. Sinker drop is a little bit better, and the cutter, I think, is the pitch that's kind of holding it all together for him. Where are you at on Graham Ashcraft?
I mean, I kind of like him more than Williamson. I also feel more Sex Pantherish with bordering on I don't believe you. But I do think I like him more than Williamson, just like maybe a hair. But I also think he's like, as of right now, his Ks haven't really translated to the major leagues. And with that the park's so bad. Like, I think, he could be rocked at any point where, like, I don't really trust him fully. I would go with him for now in every league because he's been pitching really well, like you mentioned. But yeah, I'm not really in on Ashcroft.
Yeah, this is the one I think I believe in, at least for the rest of this season, the least. I think long term, he might move above Williamson for me. Just kind of, I think that's a little bit of echoing what you were saying, but it just isn't all kind of clicking in there. As you mentioned, the K's haven't really come with him despite being, a mid to high 90s velocity fastball guy with a breaking ball. Like the K's just aren't there. That being said, I could see something like a Mitch Keller type of run for his progression where the K's weren't really there, the command wasn't there, and then it just kind of all shows up at once and he has it all together. I could see that a couple years down the line.
Yeah, that's a good comp. I could see that too. I mean it depends on how his his career trajectory goes, but I could see what you're saying happening with Ashcroft, which is kind of why I said long term I could see him being above Williamson. But yeah, it hasn't shown itself yet.
Yeah. All right, great. Let's go ahead and move over to the bullpens. David Robertson appears to be, or not appears to be, he's lost his job in Miami. Tanner Scott has gotten a couple of the last saves. Andrew Nardi, AJ Puck are some options there as well. Are you grabbing Tanner Scott in every league? Are you dropping Robertson? Where are you at on the Miami bullpen situation?
Yeah, I would probably just lose Robertson and go with Tanner Scott. I don't think there's anything like it depends on the league, obviously, and it depends on how desperate you are for saves. Like if you're super desperate, then put Robertson on your bench and hope he comes back. But there's not much time left for him to like regain the closer job. And Tanner Scott, to me, seems like he could be the closer for the rest of the year. I obviously that could change in a hurry if he gives up a couple games and if he blows a few games this week, that could change. But he seems pretty good, and I think even if Tanner Scott is even if Tanner Scott doesn't work out for them, they'd probably go to like Nardi or even Puck maybe. Like David Robertson just has been so bad.
Yeah, just not what they thought they were going to get with him. Felix Bautista goes to the IL in Baltimore. Yennier Cano seems like the guy. Is that it, or is there anybody else that you might be looking at for some save opportunities in Baltimore?
No, Cano is the guy. I think we didn't discuss Batista as much as probably he deserved to be discussed with his season was just incredible. He was having like a one of those closer years, which made people who drafted him super early look smart. Unfortunately, he's I don't know when he's coming back. Like I don't. At this point, when we're recording this, there's no news on his injury other than it's a UCL injury that I wouldn't be surprised if he's like having Tommy John surgery by this time next week. Like he doesn't seem like it doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking for somebody, go grab Cano. Also mentioned DL Hall was called up. There's some possibility he gets some opportunities. Fujinami and Danny Colombe are also there, but I believe it's Cano unless he's gone multiple days. Mentioned it last week, but Will Smith is struggling in Texas, Gray. I mean, I don't even know if you want to start him despite chasing saves, but I think it's about time for the Chapman swap to happen.
Yeah, I think Araldis came in on I think it was Sunday, and he blew the game. He blew a save too. So I don't know. I mean, neither of them have been really great in the closer role, but Will Smith's been awful. Araldis Chapman has at least been good in like the 7th and 8th inning. So the thought is he should be able to like figure out the 9th again. Whereas Will Smith has just been bad in every inning. He's been like for the last like month. So yeah, I wouldn't like Will Smith is like, if not a drop, he's at least a bench.
Yeah, I mean, for as smooth sailing as it was for Will Smith for most of the season, it has all just turned around right here at the very end. Camilo Duvall, same kind of thing. For all the smoothness that he's had all season, it's not been pretty gray for the last couple of weeks for Camilo. And then if it's not him, is it one of the Rogers boys?
You know what? It could be. It's a definite. Camilo Deville has been bad. He did get the save on Sunday though, so potentially that. And then if not, you go to the the Freaky Friday Rogers brothers, who's like the Michael J. Fox switching his tie at the prom kind of thing. Yeah, you go with one of the Rogers. I would guess Taylor probably over Tyler. I don't know, Taylor or Tyler. I don't know, man. That's confusing. I don't think if I were the parents there, I don't think I would have named them Taylor and Tyler. I'll be honest. I would have done like Jim and Frank or something.
It's like one of those where you want it to be a surprise, but you didn't want it to be a double surprise, you know?
Yeah, like or even like if you liked one of those, like Taylor and Fred, something like to mix it up a little bit. But yeah, I think they want Duvall to be the closer, so it's still Duvall. He got the save on Sunday, so it's still him for now.
Randomly, my sister knows one of the Rogers' wife, but I never know which one it is. For the same thing we were just saying, like I can't keep it straight. So I know one of the Rogers' wives.
Are they from Indy?
The wife is.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well there you go. Hey, hey, what's up, Indy? Hey, what's going on? This is a shout out to Indiana. What's going on?
All 10 of us that lived there knew each other, Gray. All 10 of us.
You used to date Cougs, right?
She was my babysitter, Gray.
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough.
Funny enough, one of my babysitters also married one of my sister's friends. Then, anyways, moving on. Jojo Romero got the last couple saves, St. Louis. It seems like they're giving him the job over Gallegos there. Yeah.
I mean, Gallegos has been bad and also hasn't pitched. So I'm going to say Jojo Romero is going to be the guy there. Yeah.
Okay. And we talked about the Detroit battle last week. Do you have a favorite in the Jason Foley, Alex Clubber Lang battle there?
I don't think, honestly, I guess I would say Lang. But I don't even know if AJ Hinch has a favorite there. So, I mean, they both, like, Foley's been better, but Lang has gotten most of the saves. So I guess go Lang, but neither's a great option because they could even split them, and the Tigers don't get that many opportunities.
Yeah, agreed on pretty much everything you said there. Let's give the people some waiver names, and then we'll get out of here, Greg.
Oh, Sookie. We got waivers. All right. So, at the top of the 7-day player rater, Adam Duvall has been hot for over a week. He should be rostered everywhere. He's not, according to the 7-day player rater. Then you have Josh Rojas, who's also been hot. Andrew Benintendi actually hitting for power. What do you know?
No.
Seiya Suzuki has been hot, still hitting the bottom of Cubs lineup, so that's not great. Kerry Carpenter has been hot for like 2 months, man. I mean, come on. Let's get with the program. Alex Verdugo has also been very hot. Wilmer Flores been hot. DJ LeMahieu, Brandon Belt, Ramon Liriano. Hey, what do you know? The Guardians have made something of that, okay? And then Royce Lewis, who I honestly believe is going to be a star. Like, this guy, he hit a home run on Sunday to like the batter's eye directly over center field wall. The ball, I think it was 117 miles per hour. He's like, Royce Lewis can be so good if he can just stay on the field. And then finally, Michael A. Taylor is one hot schmatato.
Oh yeah. I will say for my boy Seiya, he has moved up to 5th in the order recently, so he's at least starting to climb a little bit. We already talked about 2 of my top streams of the week, which are Cole Reagan's. He gets Pittsburgh. I mean, the man is dealing. Now he gets Pittsburgh. Brandon Williamson goes at San Francisco, so all that concern about the ballpark goes out of the way there. Kyle Gibson has been pitching well. He gets the White Sox. Javier Assad has been pitching well, but he's going at Cincinnati. So while I like what he's been doing, I don't know that I love the matchup at Cincinnati. Dane Dunny gets at Mets. Johan Oviedo has been a little bit up and down, but he gets at Kansas City, at St. Louis. If he can't kind of make the Missouri two-step work, then I think it's about time to go ahead and let Oviedo go. Shamanaya is getting multiple relief inning opportunities. So if you're just looking for somebody you can throw in there and randomly get 2 or 3 innings out of and some strikeouts, Manaya has been doing that, and he's been doing that well. JP France at Boston, Jake Irvin versus Miami, and Patrick Sandoval at Oakland. There's a number of streamers for you. As always, if you have specific questions, you can find us on Twitter. I am at RazBeaton. Gray is, of course, the owner of the at Razball account. Like, subscribe, rate, review us on wherever you're getting your podcasts, or if you're watching us on youtube.com/RazballFantasy, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us our comments out there. If you have any questions, we can answer them there. Till next week, Gray. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Lates.